And hello, everybody. Welcome. We hope that you're having a glorious week. Welcome to the second episode of That Fringe Show. And this is a chat show featuring performers, artists, companies, and artists putting on a little chat show for you to answer that question, what shall we see at the Fringe this year? If you're not sure what show to be seeing, this is the show for you. And it's brought to you by us, Ironclad Creative CIC. We're an organisation creating networking, training and opportunities for writers, theatre makers, especially those on low incomes. And so very quickly, we are going to say hello to the wonderful guest that we've got in the room. Give us all a big wave and a hello and stuff. Give us your good wave face. Look at that, fantastic.
Hello.
And
Hi.
fantastic stuff. So what's going to happen is I'm going to speak to you very briefly in the order that you appear on my screen. I'm going to chat to you a little bit about what your show is, who you are, where you're from, what's going on, why we should come and see your show, and where it is and when it is. And then once I've got to speak to all of you, I'll come back again and ask you even more deeper and meaningful questions. No pressure. It'll all be good. Raina, you're at the top of my screen. Hello, what's going on?
How exciting for me. Hello, I'm Raina. I'm originally from the US, but right now I'm based in Bristol. My show is called Manic. It's a solo show about bad sex and the nuances of consent. In it, I arrived to a spoken word gig and see three of my ex-partners in the audience. They are all played by different puppets, and I invite them on stage to confront them about the levels of consent in our relationship. If you like funny things about sex that involve cheese strings, but you also are interested in feminist philosophy about consent models, this is the show for you. It's on at Sweet at the Poets, May 5th through 9th at 6 p.m. Yeah,
this
come along.
Already sounds awesome. That sounds fantastic. I can't say to deeper in for that with you. But before we do, I'm going to drop to the bottom part of the screen and speak to Bradley. Hello, Bradley. How are you?
How you doing? Yeah. So yeah, I'm doing a show called Disruptive Rhythms, and it is like I guess an exploration of rhythms and the disruption. I suppose we're exploring rhythms on a multiple different levels. So from the heartbeat to political systems, the way sort of rhythms permeate everything. And so we're doing a show that brings together dancers, musicians, people that are drawing, and so and essayists and all sorts of different things. So it's a big show that brings loads of things together. It is on the 2nd of June, and it's going to be at St Mary's Church in Kempton.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Bradley. I'm going to get straight on to Hooky Productions. That's Rosa and Maya. Hello, how are you? What's going on?
Hello.
Hi.
Well, thank you.
Good.
So we're Rosa and Maya, and we're two sisters who make and perform mad surreal comedy together. And our show is called Experiment Human. And
or it's an experiment, not a show.
Ooh, yeah, it could be, it's an experiment done by two non-human creatures who have kidnapped actor Benedict Cumberbatch at the height of his fame to protect him from the media. And then they do an experiment on the human audience to find out what makes humans happy. So it's very immersive, it's dark comedy, it's like completely crazy.
Yeah, physical comedy, interactive, but we've got some safe seats so you don't have to interact if you don't want to. So it's
Excellent.
something for everyone. Yeah.
Fantastic, excellent. Something for everyone, including any leading actor from Sherlock is definitely, yeah, yes. This is what I love about these shows, is just to find out all about these wonderful shows that already I'm very excited to try and get a ticket for. Maggie, hello. How are you? What have you got going on in the Fringe?
Hello, my name is Maggie C, and I have a solo dance theater show called Ladies at a Gay Girls Bar, 1938 to 1969. And it follows the journey of a kind of fictionalized version of myself as a awkward high school student who came out as a lesbian in the mid-90s and tries to figure out what all this is about through reading every book she can get her hands on. And then through these books, I explore the butch femme working class bar culture that was predominant in the United States from the 1940s through the 1970s. So I talk about especially the feminine women's experience in these lesbian communities that were really groundbreaking at the time. So it's like a little snippet of history, there's some humor and dancing and some teenage angst. And I am at the Actors Theater May 20th and 21st.
Wonderful, fantastic. That sounds really genuinely exciting. That sounds fascinating. And Stu, hello. What's going on? What have you got going on in the Fringe? I suspect there might be a bit of a clue in your background. And Stu, you're currently on mute. This is the wonders of live Zoom.
Aha, there we go. That's the customary take myself off mute on every Zoom that I'm on. I don't know why I do that. I just do. So I'm Stu.
It's good likeness. Yeah, good.
I'm part of the choir with no name. And so the choir with no name is a choir which is made up of people that have experienced street homelessness or marginalisation in some way or other. And so the choir is formed, or they may even be marginalised or street homeless at the moment. So we get together on a Monday and practice the choir. We sing uplifting pop music and we eat together. And we do gigs wherein we partner with the Brighton Housing Trust, BHT. And in this particular gig in the Fringe, we are partnering with St Paul's, who actually facilitated us as we're coming out of lockdown. They facilitated us with a space. It's a large space there that we could keep distance and we could start to get singing again. So this particular gig is a fundraiser between St Paul's and the choir with no name, and it's filled with many people that are from all walks of life. So we can all find ourselves in a marginalised place for whatever reason, or street homeless or homeless, and so we come together. It uplifts us, and it's like a little community. Yeah. So having experienced homelessness myself, it was one of the things that kept me going, to be honest. And in fact, it's quite a lifesaver for a lot of us. So yeah, come along. So we're gigging in the Fringe on Sunday, the 14th of May. The doors open it's at Wagner Hall behind St Paul's in West Street. Doors open at 2:15. And it's an hour concert. It's a concert and it's a workshop. So it's interaction, and you'll meet the wonderful Freya, who's the choir director, and she'll get everyone singing and having fun.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Certainly, if you have seen this video shared by Ironclad itself, you'll find links for all the shows and details on the shows in whatever way we've shared it for you, and I'm sure that you'll get links for the shows from our lovely guests here for their shows in whatever way they share this YouTube link for you as well. I mean, I'm not just contractually obliged to say this. These all sound like really awesome shows that I definitely want to be part of the audience for, even if as an angst-ridden person, I might be called upon by some of the audience to get involved, which is also a thing. But I already know that I have to apologize in advance because I've already forgotten at least 6 of the questions that I thought of while we were all talking. So I'm going to try and improvise wildly and get back to that while I speak to you. Raina, I'm going to come back to you. So how, in terms of delivering this show, how difficult or easy was it? Was it a sense of, I don't want to make it sound too traumatic, but was it a sound of like, oh, I need to get this out here?
So that's actually a very interesting question, because that was a really big part of our development of the piece. So it's an autobiographical show. It's my debut theater show, but I've been making more ensemble-based theater and doing spoken word for quite a few years. And there's a really interesting discussion at the moment happening in the spoken word scene of trauma poetry, as it tends to be called. I think for me as a performer, like I have a very clear intention of an audience is not a therapist. And that's very important that that is true to my work. But I am also someone with lived experiences of sexual assault and rape, and I wasn't seeing on stage representations of that and the complexities of that and how it relates to my identity in a way that like I thought would be really useful. The dialogue that I'm trying to have in the show of gray area consent and like how do we mitigate gray area consent when we're taught consent models that don't allow for that. What does that mean for our relationships? That conversation wasn't happening anywhere around me. So I thought it would be useful to stage it. But because of that, a lot of the show, we've worked on making sure that like, it is very clear that I'm fine. The material is definitely heavy is what we tend to call it. But it's also held in a lot of space for like comedy and reflection. We've also worked with a wellness coach on it. So we do a lot of work with like content warnings and stuff. But I like to think that our audience tends to leave feeling hopeful. Hope for sex is kind of what I want the show to be about. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
No, it absolutely does, and then some. I think it's really important. I was listening to a podcast with Brett Goldstein, and he was talking about one of his earlier shows, talking about some trauma that he had experienced, and he had rather too many audience members wanting to give him a hug afterwards. Great, but that's not quite what I want to do with what was it then for him, certainly more a comedy show than about his trauma. It happened to be about the trauma, and so yeah, I think it can be really challenging to navigate where that balance is and what the audience has permission to respond to.
Oh yeah.
Do the puppets help with that? Is that give them some?
It's a big help, I think. Partially because it makes it clear that at the end of the day, like this is supposed to be a somewhat lighthearted experience. Like sex can be very heavy, but it can also be quite funny. And there needs to be room for both those truths to be held at once. I've definitely had at the very beginning of development, we had a few audience members come up to me and do the thing of like, are you okay? But like, really, are you okay? And now we have a very big end section where I say like, I'm fine. We can get it out of the way. Because I think there's like a very genuine intention there as an audience member. But it's a different space from spoken word audiences. They're really familiar with hearing heavy stuff like that. Whereas in theater spaces, it's different. I think we've seen a lot of autobiographical work get critiqued as raw. And I've always really tried to pose that criticism of like, that doesn't give anything to an audience, a potential audience describing it. I don't know what raw means, but it also doesn't trust that the performer is not just doing their job. Performing emotions is what the gig is. And it's ridiculous because it's autobiographical to watch that and say, no, you're not performing that. And I think establishing that audience and actor trust and relationship is really crucial to making that a safe space.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a really, I don't want to sort of like belabor the word. It sounds like it's quite an important work. It sounds like it's really sort of a special experience to have as an audience member in that show. Yeah, I think I agree with you about, you know, the meaning of the word raw can sometimes be a bit sort of, what do we mean by that? It can be good for copy, but we don't often know what it means. But I'm going to like spin through a lot of you without giving you the time that you deserve. So I want to sort of like acknowledge that because I'm going to stop that conversation that frankly could have gone on for the next 4 hours and go on to the next conversation that could go on for 4 hours. Hello, Bradley. So yes, could you, and this is like almost like a trick question, could you describe the experience of your show in 10 words? Or crucially, could you really not describe the experience of your show in 10 words?
Well, that's putting me on the spot.
No, and I want to say it's not a test. I don't. If you think no, that's ridiculous, I can't do it in 10 words. That's kind of my answer.
I do worry that I'm going to miss out something, but I suppose you could just say it's a multimedia exploration of disruptive rhythms. I mean that's probably the good starting point. But
Yes.
Yeah.
And what would you hope? And this again is putting you on the spot kind of question. What would you hope an audience member would feel, or what mood would they be in coming out of your show?
So I hope that they come out with as having gone on a kind of journey.
Yeah.
The way that I've been working this project is to get everyone to think of themselves as rhythm analysts. So rather than simply thinking of themselves as a dancer or a musician or filmmaker or an essayist or whatever, or drawing, they're always thinking of themselves as rhythm analysts. So the process of actual creation is in fact kind of rhythm analysis. And I think we would like to extend that to the audience. So I'd like the audience to kind of be immersed in that space in a way that they're kind of becoming more and more aware of the rhythms around them, and sort of, yeah, in some ways, there's almost like kind of intellectual process that's going on, even though it's also at the same time a very artistic process.
So it becomes like genuinely a myriad of possibilities. Anything in a safe way, anything can happen.
Yes, yeah. There's definitely going to be a lot. I've used a lot of improvisation. So although I'm doing sort of workshopping and developing the show with a load of dancers, there's going to be elements that are just not completely found. So there is going to be this kind of that element.
I mean, Fringe is the right place to ask that question, but how does it feel to be doing a show where you don't necessarily know what's going to happen at each performance? Is that something that excites you or terrifies you or both at the same time?
I think it's exciting, but I mean, there is a terrifying bit that I just want to know that it's the opposite side that terrifies me. It's the things that need to be organized. Not
Yes.
the
I think you're just...
But yeah, so I mean, this applies both to the musicians as well. So although some of it is composed, there's going to be bits that aren't. So
yeah, so space to sort of like discover new things.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the whole point of this project in some ways, is to explore disruptive rhythms. So it's I mean, partly this came about because of COVID. This COVID wasn't one disruptive rhythm. And so we were navigating that whilst doing these kind of dance performances. So
yeah,
then it's grown from there. But yeah, I think we understand disruptive rhythms as being something small in terms of your body, being some big revolution or something else.
Yeah, I like that idea of like, because disruption for a civilian like me can sound like it's has a negative tone to it. So the idea that disruption can be exciting and find a new way.
Yeah, it can be both. It can be both positive and negative.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Bradley. Hello, Hooky Productions. So, yes, I guess I have to ask the obvious question first. What would happen if Benedict rocked up to one of the shows?
We were talking about that earlier, actually.
I think Monkion's heart would stop beating.
Yeah,
the
our
protagonist.
character. So our character is called Monkion. It's like a collective identity. I don't know if I've lost you yet, but
no. I'm on board.
Yeah, and Monkion is obsessed with Benedict Cumberbatch, like obsessed. And I think if the real Benedict Cumberbatch came in the audience, like I think we just have to stop the show, and Monkion would just be like,
Monkion would just like transcend.
Yeah. Yeah. But Benedict Cumberbatch might be in our show in a non-human different way. It's hard. I don't want to give it away, but it's
So I think, yeah, I mean, I guess I have to stop you there, because that's very, very intriguing, and we want people to come and see the show. So that's Benedict might appear in a non-human way. I mean, that straight away, that's golden. So your sisters and you, I guess you are both aware of the work of Benedict. You'll notice how I'm deliberately trying to avoid mispronouncing his surname, because I panic that I'll get it wrong. But do you have a favorite performance of his work Do you share that favorite performance? Do you have different ideas of what a typical Benedict performance would be?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah, I mean, we're not like, we do like Benedict, but we're not sort of experts. It's more Monkian's area.
Yeah, Monkian's area
of expertise.
We do perform the show, and Monkian is the protagonist.
I love the way that you're throwing this all onto Monkey, as if Monkey has no agency outside of what you do.
Monkian, yeah.
Yeah. I'm mispronouncing all the words tonight. Okay, fantastic. But yeah, do we have what would you choose as a Benedict thing?
Probably Sherlock, like a detective.
I think Frankenstein, I think would be my suggestion, because I think there's themes. I mean, like our show is kind of explores the non-human and feeling like other, and
basically very kind of neurodivergent show as well, like kind of a lot
queer as well,
and queer.
Like feeling anyone who feels
out of place,
like in society,
will feel in place in our audience. I hope will feel like held in a space that feels kind of out of this current societal expectation world. I don't think that sentence made sense, but
no, absolutely. I think that this is, you read patterns, don't you? But I'm going to see a vibe of this Fringe being exciting and surprising things for people, but held in a safe space. And if you feel that you're not recognized by, as you say, societal norms, there's a show for you. So that sounds really exciting. Thank you. Maggie, hello. Hello. So remind me of the 1938
to 1969.
Fantastic. If you had the ability to drink a drink in a bar in any of those years, what would be a good year for you? What would you choose?
That's a great question. I think there's part of me that would want to go to a bar in a city near a shipbuilding community like we have in Boston where I live, and be in a bar that was full of young women who were working in the Navy Yard. That's one pick. And then my second pick would be that I'd like to go to a bar in Greenwich Village in New York City and meet one of my heroes, Joan Nessel, who's a femme writer and activist whose work is important in the show. So if I could go back in time and have a drink with her in Greenwich Village in the 60s, that'd be a dream come true.
I mean, both of those scenarios and situations and settings of dates, they both sound like really strong Netflix streaming series, 10-parter that I'd love to sort of see. That's gorgeous. And not to, because this is again one of those things that could be like a 9-hour conversation, but in terms of queer women drinking with each other at a bar that was a safe space for them, that straight away is perhaps a contentious phrase, a safe space. Does it go in cycles? Does it go in ways? Were there moments when, I mean, from the research that you've done, that, oh, that was a really glorious place to be at that decade or that time? Or is it even more complicated than that?
Not shockingly, I think it's somewhat more complicated than that. I think these bars were kind of pockets of really important safe space, but there was danger from law enforcement and or from the mafia, as well as just from people on the street if you were recognizably queer or part of a queer couple. And it does vary with time and place, kind of what the biggest threat was. And then the other thing that's interesting is I dive into this material as a femme identified person who's partnered with a butch woman. I think this history is super important for all kinds of queer people, but I'm coming at it with like an emotional resonance that I know is not true for everybody. Like I think all kinds of identities can connect with this, but I'm coming from a place of somebody who like really once I understood what femme was, I understood that was my gender identity and was like, oh yeah, that thing. And these bars weren't always, the subculture wasn't always a kind place for people that felt like they were neither butch nor femme, which is sad. So it wasn't necessarily for everyone.
And I think
But
that my response to that, my reaction to that is that even though it's a largely historical piece, it really speaks to situations and events and opinions that are happening right now.
absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, again, that's feels like, again, a conversation that we could sort of pull apart over 8 hours, but we will only have 1 hour with you in your show. Likewise, Stu, hello. How, the question is, perhaps I'm over romanticizing this, but did you discover singing, or did singing discover you? How did you get into it, I guess?
That's a very good question, Andrew. Well, I hadn't sung at all before, and particularly I hadn't sung in a choir, never sung in public. And I actually found myself homeless last September, and someone actually mentioned to me, there's a choir, why don't you go and join a choir? It's a choir that's for homeless and marginalized people. And I thought about it for a bit, because it's something I would never have dreamt of doing or thought of, wouldn't have been on my radar. And I went along, and I was in quite a dark, low place as well, because the relationship that I was in had just broken up as well. And I went there, and I was immediately welcomed. It's like a little micro community. As soon as I went in the door, I felt welcomed, and we had a cup of tea together. Then we started to practice, and Freya, the choir director, puts into our groups, whether we're a bass or a soprano, alto, tenor. So I was put with the basses, and we sang for 3/4 of an hour, and I loved it. It was absolutely amazing. And, I thought, well, I could sing the right notes, but probably in the wrong order, or I would forget the words. That's not singing. You've never sung before. You can't keep time and you can't remember your words, because Freya, the choir master, gives you a cue, and you can pick up off the vibe and other people in the choir. So if you've forgotten a line, the person next to you probably remembers it, so you can kind of carry on, But it's great. But I had been exploring my voice, and it's given me a lot of confidence. And there's many other people in the choir in a similar position from all walks of life. They've been through some isolation, some trauma, and so we're meeting together. We're singing uplifting pop songs, and then we have a meal together afterwards. And for me, amazing thing happened just before Christmas. I found myself singing a solo at the Dome in front of 1,500 people. So there you are, so you never know what might happen.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Stu. I'm going to stay with you for a moment, because I'm going to ask you a question that then I'm going to throw out to everybody else in the group. So this is my warning to you, because it'll be a question again that you might not have prepared for. And so you'll be able to hear me ask this question of Stu and then panic and perhaps scroll through your Spotify list of going, oh, maybe that one, because almost inevitably I'm going to ask you, Stu, what is the empowering cheer up song that you might sing, not necessarily in a choir, but literally getting out of bed or having a shower or whatever? What's the song you're going to sing to power up your day?
Oh wow, what a great question. There's so many songs that I'd listen to or sing to power up my day, but one of the ones we've been practicing lately is Don't Stop Me Now by Queen.
Yep, that
would be an uplifting song.
We have no argument with that. Classic. It's a banger. There we go. Raina, what about you?
Show related, we use The Bad Touched by the Bloodhound Gang in nearly all of our marketing when possible. It is one of my director got me into it. It is like an early noughties, absolutely trash song. But it's one of my favorites. If you've not heard The Bad Touch, it is.
I don't think I have. I'm definitely going to have to fire it up as soon as we finish this call. The Bad Touch by the Greyhounds, did you say?
The Bloodhound Gang.
Bloodhounds. You see how vanilla my life is. You said grey, you said blood, I heard grey. It's all, yeah. Hello, Bradley. What about for you?
Hey. Okay, so this is, yeah, let me think. I suppose, like with this show, we've been doing lots of different types of music, and I've been trying to think about how different genres of music can play next to each other, so you can, as a way of disrupting rhythms again. So
yeah,
that's been kind of, I don't know, there's so many different things I could. But do you know, one of the things that I know, this is a really weird thing to say, but I actually think a lot of 60s electronic music kind of gets me kind of in this like jumpy, happy mood. Yeah. So I actually find, like, you know, some like, you know, popcorn, things like that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bradley. And Hooky Productions, tell me about what your, I guess we get two answers from you, possibly, unless you really are in sync. What's going on?
I think we are in sync, because basically there was like at Edinburgh Fringe last year, we were performing with the Free Festival, and we did a full run, and it was like really, really hard,
very tiring
mentally and physically. But there was our like
mantra that just got us through.
Yeah, from a cabaret performance we saw like at the beginning, and
it's like an 80s 70s cabaret.
It's called, what's it
and
called?
It goes,
do you know the
but
one?
we don't know what the words
I mean,
are.
I'm not very good at picking up on tunes anyway, but I was enjoying the performance.
The thing was, like, we loved this song, but we never knew the words to it. So it was just like, you know, when you get a tune in your head, like all the time, it's going again and again. Yeah, so we sing it to each other.
I mean, it's not been the first time it's been said, but we definitely need a Shazam for people going, yeah, 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 yeah. I'm working out that way. But all right, so whatever that was at the depths of the Edinburgh Fringe, day 23, that was what it was. Fantastic, excellent. Maggie, what about for you? What song would get you even more excited and happy than
I Know a Place by the band Muna is a song about the queer community and safe places that I really love to listen to, and it's on my pre-show playlist, along with You Don't Own Me by Leslie Gore, which I think is from the 60s.
Yeah.
And that's like a power anthem of like, you can't, don't tell me what to do and don't tell me what to say. And she was a closeted lesbian. She had this pop career, but where no one knew that she was queer.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, all of you. That really, Maggie, what you've just been saying reminds me of, I guess, what my anthem, happiest thing is a song called Walk Tall by Esther Marrow. And that's just a glorious sort of sounding like a Walk Tall type song.
Mm-hmm.
But Hooky, you've been talking about the Edinburgh Fringe, which reminds me, can you all give me a wave if you've done the Brighton Fringe before? Look at that, an absence of waving hands. Look at that. I would want to find out then, because normally I get advice from somebody who has done the Brighton Fringe before, but that's, I mean, Hooky, you've done the Edinburgh Fringe, so we might be able to get the ball started with you. Can you please tell the rest of us, what are like the 3 items that we're going to need to have in our rucksack to survive a day at the Fringe?
Oh, that's a good one. Like portable phone charger, just in case all the sockets all the electricity goes, then, you know. A good snack, like a, you know, sugary snack.
Yes.
Oats as well.
Oats
in the
in the snack, not separate. Oats in the snack.
Yeah, okay.
If that's your thing, you don't have
to. I mean, you had me at sugary. I wasn't as interested by the oats, but yeah, sugary snack is good. Anything else?
A flyer if you have a flyer of your show, or just even like when we ran out of flyers, we just wrote down our like Instagram handle or something, because you'll be talking to so many people, so it's just good to spread the word in any way you can. Have a little, any kind of piece of paper.
Absolutely fantastic. And I guess a pen. Well,
and a pen, yeah.
Excellent.
That's a good idea.
Bradley, how about you? What are you hoping to stick into any rucksack of choice to survive the Fringe?
I suppose I always do have lots of food prepared, especially if I've got the performance. Are you talking about me going to the Fringe as a viewer, or are you talking about me being on the Fringe as a performer?
Do you know what? I almost deliberately didn't define that, whether it not be you as a participant or as a viewer. Whatever answer you feel compelled to give me is good. Yeah, I mean, I've got my rucksack.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've gone to the Fringe before as a viewer. I suppose usually just take myself. But yeah, in terms of like having a show, that becomes a bit like more things to prepare, technical things, people, and
yes, I think that's definitely the case.
people on board to help is one of the big things, and then having food to supply you with enough energy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bradley. Stu, how about you? What do you think you're going to need to get through a couple of days at the Fringe?
Well, I think a good supply of water.
Yes.
A water bottle, something like that, because you're going to get quite thirsty with all the exciting shows that are on, or experiments, should I say.
Yep.
And I think perhaps a program. You need your program so you can have a look, see what's on. So you might want to zip from one to another if there's a couple on the same day. And maybe a pack of rich tea biscuits or something.
Rich tea, interesting. I mean, again, I could get segued into a whole conversation more biscuits or cookies to have, but I'm going to resist that temptation. Maggie, how about you? What are you? Are you traveling over from? Remind me. Are you?
Yep, in Massachusetts, in the US. I just ordered myself a 50-foot auxiliary cord for audio to plug in my iPad. And I also ordered 10 packets of peanut butter because that's a good snack. And now I will have it easily accessible on the go.
Yes.
And my other favorite product for hanging up posters is double-sided tape. So I will probably bring my own roll of double-sided tape.
Excellent. Yeah, you're gonna be fine. You've got all the things, and if you run out of tape, you've got 10 jars of peanut butter to sort of stick posters up. You'll be good. Fantastic.
Right.
And Raina, how about for you? What's going to help you survive the Fringe?
I think the biggest one, I did Edinburgh as well and had a horrific time. And I think one of the things I learned a lot was like, I need some affirmations in my bag. So definitely some positive affirmations to keep me going. Stickers, if you want a sticker that says horny but dramatic about it in big glitter letters, come find me. And then I think the last thing is I have pug nipple tassels that I put on when I need some extra attention from audience. So probably those.
Fantastic. I heard that those nipple tassels had the word pug before them. Is that like the dog?
Like the dog.
We're in. But excellent. And in the spirit of affirmations, it has been glorious to speak to all of you tonight. It's been an absolutely gorgeous experience. I'm really excited to hear and see more about your shows. And in that spirit, and again, you spoke about Instagram handles, etc. Please give us one more reminder of who you are, where we can find you, and when. And again, in that spirit, I'm going to go in the order that I see you on my screen. So back to Raina. What's going on with your show? When, where, how, when?
The show is Manic. It is at Sweet at the Poets, May 5th through 9th at 6 p.m. And you can find me, myself, and my face, on Instagram at Raina, RAINA.Greifer. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Raina Greifer. Yay.
Excellent. Thank you, Raina. Bradley, tell us more and tell us again about your show.
So, so our show is Disruptive Rhythms, and it's going to be on the 2nd of June at St Mary's Church. You can find out more about us either by going to our website. So the group is called Exploding Appendix. I can explain that, but I suppose we haven't really got time to explain that name, but yeah. But we are a group that's based in Brighton, so we do events generally, but this is going to be more of a bigger show. But you can go to our website, which is www.exploringappendix.com, or you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all the other ones, or most of the other ones. You can, is that, have I said that?
I think that is. I think you've done perfectly, Bradley. Thank you so much. Well done. And Rosa and Maya, please remind us.
So we are Experiment Human on the Rotunda Dome from the 17th to the 21st of May at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And on social media, we are Hooky Productions.
Fantastic. Excellent stuff. And Maggie, again, tell us what we need to know.
Yes, Ladies at a Gay Girls Bar is at the Actors Theatre May 20th and 21st at 6:30 p.m. And I am at the Femme Show, THEF as in Frank, EMME show, the Femme Show, on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube.
Fantastic. Thank you, Maggie. And Stu, final crescendo from you.
So it's the Choir with No Name, and we're at, and you may be able to see it at the back there, Wagner Hall, and that's 14th of May. Doors open at 2:15, and it's a concert and participatory workshop as well in choir. And yeah, Wagner Hall's behind the St. Paul's Church in West Street.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This has been That Fringe Show from Ironclad Creative CIC. We are on YouTube and shared through all the social platforms and channels throughout the Fringe. We've got a few more shows coming up. If you have got a show in the Fringe, please get in touch with us and you can have what I'm going to confidently assume is the lovely experience that all our guests tonight have had. And we will be hoping to speak to you all soon throughout the Fringe. Have a fantastic May in Brighton. We look forward to seeing as many shows as possible. But from all of us, for now, goodbye. Bye. And now this is where we wave. There we look at that. Look at that. We're all doing good.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.